and to the left. 430 million years ago, guys, that was connected to Canada. And about 420 million years ago, the Canadians decided they didn't want us anymore. They cut us off. We floated through the 4 different hemispheres of the world, crashed into England around 410 million years ago. That created the Great Glen, still an active fault line. And during the last ice age, big icebergs slid through here, carved out the glen, left us with the 4 major lochs in the glen. First one here on our left is Sea Loch, Loch Linnhe. And then we have 3 freshwater lochs, Loch Lochy, Loch Oik and Loch Ness. You will pass and see all of them today. Now the Great Glen was a hub for Jacobite support. For anybody that's heard of the Jacobites. The Jacobite rebellions came around from 1688, the Glorious Revolution, when King William came to power. And he ordered that forts be built all along the glen. He wanted to quash them rebellions before they got a chance to take off. So he proposed 3 major forts along the glen. And the first one he had built was here in this town. Now this town was originally called Inverlochy. He renamed it to Fort William, and he named the fort after himself as well. The people here refused to call it that. They didn't like him. They called it Marysborough after his wife, Queen Mary, and its Gaelic name is Garsdan. Now this here on our left, that takes you into the fort of Fort William. It's a very good loch for bringing in supplies for their soldiers. The first fort built here was by Oliver Cromwell, the guy who took charge between King Charles I and II, called the Interregnum when we had no royal family. They thought that was a good idea until they realised that Oliver Cromwell was a bit of a basket case. So when he died, they invited Charles II back and asked for the royal family. But William built his fort over the top of Oliver Cromwell's. Now for anybody that's interested in seeing it, on our left, that is all that is left of the fort, them 2 walls. It was destroyed by the people in this town in the 1800s. They stripped it brick by brick to rebuild, well, to build a new railway station. The other 2 forts that he had commissioned was Fort Augustus and Fort George. They were both destroyed in the 1745 Jacobite risings with Bonnie Prince Charlie. Now guys, the Jacobites, they get their name from the Latin word for James, which is Jacobus. They were literally followers of King James. And they basically wanted to restore the Stuart line to the throne. And there's 4 major rebellions. So 1688 it started and it finished in 1746. So it did. Fighting in between but 4 major rebellions. Now people have the mistaken belief that the Jacobite rebellions was as simple as Scotland against England, Catholic against Protestant. Wasn't as simple as that. Them 4 rebellions, the Jacobite armies would have consisted of Scottish, Irish, Welsh and English soldiers, surprisingly. They would have had help from Spain and France, depending on what year it was. The government forces, Redcoats, the English, the Hanoverians, whatever it is you want to call them, they would have consisted of English, Irish, Welsh and Scottish soldiers. You literally could have had brother fighting against brother, cousin fighting against cousin, and that's the simple